I remember the day my family arrived at the Overlook Hotel. It was supposed to be a fresh start for us, a chance to escape the mess of our lives and find peace in the mountains. But what we didn't know, what I didn't know, was that the Overlook wasn't just any hotel, it was alive, and it had plans for us. My name is Jack Torrance. I was once a teacher, a writer, a husband and a father, but back then I was struggling. I had problems, big ones. I'd made mistakes I couldn't take back. My temper got the best of me more than once, and it had cost me dearly. I lost my job after attacking a student, and I'll never forget the day I hurt my son, Danny. It was a terrible, drunken mistake, one I would give anything to undo. After that, I swore off the booze. I was trying to be better, trying to be the man my wife, Wendy, and my son needed me to be. That's why I took the job at the Overlook. The hotel needed a caretaker for the winter, someone to watch over it while it was closed during the snowy months. The job seemed perfect, a quiet, isolated place where I could write, where I could work on rebuilding my life. It was just going to be me, Wendy and Danny up there in the mountains. No distractions, no temptations, just the three of us together. But from the moment we arrived, something didn't feel right. The hotel was beautiful, sure, grand and majestic, nestled in the Rocky Mountains. But there was something else, something lurking beneath the surface like a dark shadow waiting to pounce. I tried to ignore it. I had to believe this place was going to be our salvation. Then there was Danny. My boy. He's special. Always has been. He's got this gift, this ability to see things that no one else can. He calls it the shining. At first I didn't understand it, didn't really believe in it, but the things he could sense, I couldn't explain it, and neither could he. He started having these terrible visions before we even arrived at the hotel. Visions of blood, death, and something terrible that was going to happen to us. When we got to the Overlook, the cook, Dick Halloran, picked up on Danny's gift right away. He had it too, you see. He called it the same thing, the shining. Before he left for the winter, Dick took Danny aside and warned him to be careful. He told Danny that the hotel wasn't what it seemed. If anything bad happened, Danny could call out to him, even across great distances, and Dick would come. I didn't think much of it at the time. I was focused on my new job, on getting back to writing. But Danny, he knew something was wrong from the start. At first, everything seemed fine. The snow started falling and we settled into a routine. I spent my days trying to write while Wendy and Danny explored the hotel. It was quiet, peaceful even. I thought things were finally going to be okay. But slowly, the Overlook started to work its way into our lives. It started with small things, creaks and whispers that I tried to brush off as my imagination. But soon it became impossible to ignore. The hotel, it wasn't just haunted. It was alive, and it had its sights set on me. I spent hours and hours in front of my typewriter trying to write, but instead of the novel I was working on, something else started coming out. Pages and pages of nonsense, just the same sentence over and over again. All work and no play makes Jack a dull boy. It didn't make any sense, but I couldn't stop. It was like the hotel had gotten into my head, twisting my thoughts, controlling me. The worst part, I didn't even notice how bad it was getting. I started hearing voices, people who weren't there. I'd walked down the hallways, and suddenly I was back in the hotel's past, watching people who had long since died. They spoke to me, whispered things I didn't want to hear. They told me I wasn't good enough, that my family was holding me back, that they needed to be dealt with. Wendy tried to talk to me, tried to tell me I wasn't myself, but I didn't want to hear it. I was angry, frustrated, and the hotel was feeding that anger. It was pushing me, prodding me, convincing me that everything would be better if it was just me in the hotel. No distractions, no wife, no son, just me and my work. Meanwhile, Danny was suffering too. His shining allowed him to see things in the hotel that were beyond anything I could imagine. He saw ghosts, real, terrifying entities that roamed the halls. One of them, a woman in room 217, nearly killed him. I should have protected him. I should have listened, but by then I was too far gone. The hotel's history started revealing itself to us in strange, terrifying ways. It had a violent past: murders, suicides, madness. The former caretaker, Delbert Grady, had gone insane and murdered his wife and 2 daughters during a previous winter. And now the Overlook wanted me to do the same. I could feel it deep down. The hotel had chosen me. One night, after days of torment, the hotel made its move. I could hear it, whispering in my ear, telling me that Wendy and Danny were the problem. They were holding me back, stopping me from achieving greatness. I couldn't think straight anymore. I couldn't see reason. All I knew was that the hotel was right. I needed to get rid of them. I found a roquet mallet, and the next thing I knew, I was hunting them through the halls. Wendy tried to stop me, but she was no match for the madness that had taken over. Danny, terrified and alone, did the only thing he could. He reached out to Dick Halloran, just like he'd been told. Even across the distance, Dick heard him and rushed back to help. But by the time Dick arrived, I wasn't myself anymore. I was fully under the hotel's control, and I attacked him too. I don't know how, but Danny and Wendy managed to escape me. They ran, and in that moment something strange happened. You see, the Overlook wasn't just using me, it was using its own power to manipulate everything in the hotel, even the boiler. The pressure had been building, and I'd forgotten to release it. In the end, the hotel sealed its own fate. The boiler exploded, and the entire building went up in flames. As the fire raged around me, I had one brief moment of clarity. I saw Danny, and I knew what I had done, or almost done. In that last moment, I tried to stop myself, tried to save them by letting them go, but it was too late for me. The Overlook took me with it. Wendy, Danny and Dick escaped the hotel, but they were scarred by what had happened. The Overlook was gone, reduced to ashes, but its memory lived on. Danny still had his shining, still carried the weight of everything he'd seen. Wendy had lost her husband, and she would never forget the terror of those final days. As for me, I was lost to the Overlook, just another casualty of its dark, twisted power. I'd wanted a fresh start, a chance to be a better man. But in the end, I became something worse than I ever could have imagined. If you liked our video, please like, subscribe and tell us what is your favorite writer in the comments.